Hi guys, welcome to this Model Engineers Workshop. I'm the chef. Today, something a little bit different. We're not actually cutting any material for the Wombat locomotive. We're going to do a little bit of machinery infrastructure. Going to end up here on the end of the table, right up the end here. The idea what I'm going to show you, I can take no credit for. I got the idea from a gentleman who's on YouTube called ABOM79, otherwise known as Adam Booth. He's based in Pensacola in Florida in America, and he has a very good channel. If you like machining, go across to have a look at his channel. I'm sure he'd love a subscribe and a like and a bell notification from a few new members, especially if we're all here together in Australia. I've been looking at his channel for years now, a couple of years at least, years in plural, and a few weeks back he showed a solution to a problem I had, or it's going to be a had anyway. Namely, my machine uses this kind of, my milling machine uses this kind of fitting for holding onto the tools. This one is mounted on, got a drill chuck on it, my drill chuck. This is known as an NT30, also known as the same taper, slightly different format, especially at the top here. For a CNC machine, it's known as a BT30. I've seen them known as INT30s or even CAT 30s. Now Adam uses CAT 50s, so they're two sizes further up. But what I have to do when I need to tighten these, especially the ones like that one, which has an ER32 collet in it, this collar needs tightening up to actually compress the collet and hold on to what is in this case a 20mm end mill. So he showed what I have to do is I have to take this, you can see it's got those two little slots in the side to catch the dogs here inside the spindle, which actually forms the drive. All the rest of it does is actually locate it centrally straight up in the spindle and hold it still. So you don't actually need to crank down on these very tight to hold them in place. It's the dogs that do the work and the taper, because the taper is one of those tapers like a Morse taper that will actually lock itself in, but you've got to have the drawbar holding it in place, otherwise it's going to come loose when you're machining. He showed a CAT 50 version of one of these. I didn't even know these things existed. A little bit of look on the internet, and this is a tool tightening fixture. Now this one, like I say, is for a CAT 30, BT 30, NT 30, whichever you want to do. As you can see, these holes, wonderful piece of design, because of course milling machines are all different, don't actually line up with the slots in the milling table. I mean, I suppose a lot of these get mounted onto a trolley top or a bench top, but for me, I'm going to kind of mount it here at the end of the table. So it's all close by. I've got the spanner just on the bench next to me, and I'm going to get it mounted onto a nice big thick piece of steel, couple of slots, couple of bolts that will go through here, because I've found out that an M10 flange nut, or rather an M10 flange bolt, will slot into there nicely. I don't need to reduce the height of the head or anything. It'll pop up, well, this one and that one probably, or maybe that one at the back and this one, so that I can then get a flange nut onto it. So no need for a nut and a washer. A flange nut will do nicely, and it can mount there, and it is then close to hand because my tooling is all here, very close to hand. There you go. At the side of the mill, vice here, spindle there. So it makes sense that this fitting, tool tightening fixture goes here. Again, go across to ABOM79 on YouTube and have a look at his channel. It's only a few weeks back he did one of these, because he's setting up a new workshop for himself, because he's set himself up in his own machine shop business there in Pensacola. So I was just having a look in the scrap bin, see what I could find. Found a piece of 30x8 black hot rolled steel, which I've now cut a couple of bits out of. They're about 163 mil each long. I'm just going to tidy up the ends. There's a lot of burrs. I'm going to mill that down so it's nice and tidy. As you can see, they're just plain saw cut ends. The plan then being is, if I leave 10 mil between those and then mount this on the top, like that, bit of careful measuring and working out for the holes later on, I don't actually need to mill a 10mm slot for those 10mm flange bolts to come through, but I will have plenty of room for the nuts to clamp it down to the table. Again, these will be drilled and tapped M8 in here, and I'll get 4 cap screws from the local supplier that I use to hold those down once I've got these cleaned up the length and the holes drilled and tapped M8. Right, so I'll get these 2 bits of black mold steel, the hot rolled steel. It's just ordinary junk steel, you can see. It was just very roughly measured on the power hacksaw. And I'll get these set up in the vise. Nothing too fancy, don't need parallels, just need something to raise them up slightly. I can use the same 20mm end mill we were using before, and I'll just get the ends cleaned up, maybe get it to as close to about 160, maybe even 161 if there's enough material there. Just leave them slightly long, so as I say, the ends won't be flapping over the end of a slot like that, but they will be at least supported on both ends. Right, I'll be back in a couple of minutes, guys. I'll just get this set up in the milling machine. So, this is the setup. 2 bits of steel, the 30x8 steel that I've just cut underneath there. Don't know if you can see, just there. There's a little bit of square steel just to get them off the bottom of the vise, get them up near the top. Cutter's not very long on the sides here, and I really don't want to be working all the way down there with the risk of maybe mistakenly running into the edge at the side of the vise there. Plan of action now, get the machine running, get down, just touch off. I've got these pretty much level with each other by touch. The other end is maybe a mil out. Get these 2 cleaned up, flip the whole thing over so the other end comes this end, and that way I can just work backwards and forwards. You might be wondering why I don't just take the cutter up and over and clean off that end at the same time. As you can see, it does stick out the vise quite a long way. I'd rather have a little bit of a stick out so it's not going to be bouncing around. Also, because the rotation of the machine and the cutter is this way, it throws all the swarf, all the crap goes down the back there like that. Goes onto the concertina, which is protecting the ways of the knee, and when that gets a bit too full, then I can get the vacuum out and clean it all up. So it's cutting that way, come back, move it this way, take another cut that way. So I'm not cutting this way, move it, cut back. This is called conventional milling. This is called climb milling. Climb milling is not the best. It is to do in very few situations. This is what my understanding is. Conventional milling is always better. Pure and simple because of the way the cutter meets the metal when you're cutting. Right, so I'm going to get the machine running, get touched off, bring you back, and we'll take the first cut across here, the 2 bits. I reckon it's not going to take much. I reckon if I took 1/2 mil off that, that would clean off both ends, and then we just flip it end for end, make sure they're both lined up at that end again, and tidy up here so we get it all nice and level. Length is not really critical at all, even. It's not even critical, just as long as they're clean and tidy. The rest I'm not going to worry too much about. It's going to spend its life either there or down the other end of the mill table. I'm right-handed, so it makes sense that it's actually on the right end of the mill table. Tools up there on the right, tool tightening fixture here, spindle there, vise here, all working right-handed. I'm not having to cross over myself when I'm working on the machinery. Right, just give me a couple of seconds, I'll get the machine running. It's still set at the same speeds and feeds as last time, and I'll get you back in a couple of seconds. Just give me a second or two, here we go. Right, I've touched off, cleared the cutter away from the steel so it's a bit more towards me at the minute. I've set the table that way, 0.4 of a mil, which should, I think, clean up both ends in one go. So let's start making some chips. There we go. Let's have a look. No, we need just a little bit more. So let's get this coming back. Go for another 0.2 or 0.3 of a millimetre. Let's have a look. You're going to focus for me? Yes, there we are. That's 0.3-ish. I'll do it. It's all very rough. It doesn't need to be anything exact at the minute. Now, this time, that looks better. Yep, that's those both ends cleaned up. Right, so again, I'm going to have to put you down, flip this out round, keeping these ends as level as I can. When they're at that end, we'll get the other end cleaned up. I'll bring you back in a second. Hang on. Alrighty, end for end. I flipped it all end for end. This is the good end, just very roughly by touch, got them nice and level. I've already touched off, and it's probably going to take about a mil and a half maybe to get these nice and level. So let's have a look. Let's get come on, focus. Thank you. 2, 4, 5. There we go. That's half a mil. Take that off and see how we're going. Okay, here goes. Right, that's not quite there. You can, don't know if you can see, but the bottom corner. Oh no, I think we'll be all right. Just give me a second. Let's have. You can see, I wouldn't be doing this with the machine running, not with a cloth in my hand, even though it is paper. I'm not going to be dragged into the machine. Right, they look clean. Right, let's get this all dried off, taken out of ice, and go on to the next stage of the plan. Okay, so now those 2 bars have been milled to clean up the ends. You can see I've put a chamfer on there. I took them outside the workshop where my belt linisher is, and I just did them a quick tidy up on the belt linisher just to take all the burrs and the rough edges off. And now you get to see what the idea is. I've got to drill now 4 more holes. I've got to work out a bit of math. These holes are measuring at about 8.75. I dare say they're actually drilled 9 mil. Just a 1/4 mil of paint in there because it seems to be quite well painted in the blue. So I'm just going to use 8.75. It'll be close enough because I'm going to use M8 cap head screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, just to hold this down to these. So as you can see, doing this using 2 bars, I've just saved myself a hell of a job because I don't need to mill a 10mm slot just to get through the just so that the bolts that hold it down can get through. And the holes are, let me have a look at my notes, they are 57.5 apart this way. Actually, I should be pointing at this, shouldn't I? 57.5. No, I tell a lie. They are 48.75 because I've had to take off one side of the hole so I get the 2 centers. And of course, when I translate that onto these, I've added 10mm for the gap for the bolts, which gives me 58.75. So I can now work out what these two, what the dimensions are. They are then going to be 73.25 apart, going down the length. Don't need to take the 10mm into account on those 2 holes, of course, because it doesn't affect them. But what I can do, just take those off there. Again, once I've got the numbers in my head, like that, I still have the mill set up with the DRO recording that this corner on the vise, there, that top corner on that jaw, is 0.00, 0.00 in the X and the Y. So I can set these up, put the bars back on that little piece of steel there just to raise them up, work out my dimension, go along, drill a hole using the center drill, same as we did before, go straight through. This is scrap steel, so it's not going to matter if I put a peck into it. Go along the next one, push through the hole there. Drill them tapping size 4 M8. I do believe that means it's going to be a 7 or even a 6.8 mil drill. I'll just have to check on the tables and information I've got in a second, and we'll get the right drill and drill a couple holes and start getting them tapped. So I'm going to, again, just put you down, get this all set up, work out the right number of drills, work out my maths, and I'll be back. Okay. Right, here we go. So 0.00 in both directions, the corner. Done the trick with the little engineer's square to transfer that 0.00 to the workpiece. I've then come over 5.625 on the Y. I've moved down 43.87. Gonna use a nice big chunky center drill this time, not a little one, because we're drilling a big hole. Gonna make the dimple, go through with a 4mm drill, then go through with a 6.8. I'll then have the tap wrench that's set over by the vise with the M8 tap in it, so that I can then tap all these, what will then be 4 holes. I'm going to drill this one, which is 2 pieces of course, then I'm going to move down and drill the next 2, and then take them out, put them in the vise, tap them, and have a trial fit. It's going to be interesting. So I'm going to get this one dimpled, and then I'll put you down and I'll get you back when I've got these holes drilled and tapped. Okay, holes are drilled here and here. Now the ultimate, let's take them out, give them a quick clean up and tap them. And let's see if they actually fit, see if I can still do my math. Wouldn't that be, that's going to be an interesting situation at the end. So give me a couple of minutes, tap 4 holes, and we'll see what bolts we've got, if we've got any. And maybe we can even get this bolted down and see what it looks like. Alrighty, back in a tick. So there we go, that didn't take long. Now you can see it in its entirety. 2 bars, 10mm gap between them, so the 10mm bolts come through. Sorry, one at the front there, one at the back. M8 bolts, just to hold them down to the plates. Nice and easy, it's good and solid, it's not going anywhere. And I'm not really tightening them down too tight, so if I need to move it, it'll be easy one to move. Just a quick undo on a couple of nuts and the whole thing will just slide out. And of course, Sod's Law managed to kick itself in I've only got 3 M8 bolts. I need 4. So obviously I need to get a bit of new stock in, so the next time I'm passing my local store, the one I go to, nice place here in town, I'll be paying them a visit, get a few more of these M8 by 16mm bolts. Get at least I don't know, another dozen or so, just to have some in stock. And mind you, they're so friendly, they would sell me one if I wanted to as well. Doesn't really make a lot of difference to them. They've got a fair amount of stock. They seem to have everything I want every time I go in, which is really nice. Alrighty then guys, so that's this little project done. A little bit of updating on the mill. It's there nicely on the mill table. And I'll tell you what, let me just grab, here we have, this is an NT30. It's got a 6mm, you're going to focus for me, yes there we are, 6mm collet in it. And as you can see, it just drops in like that. There you go. It drops in. The nut here at the bottom doesn't interfere with it, which is good. It's nice and solid. It's not going to rotate anywhere. And the gremlins have struck again. I did have a spanner for this. There it is. It's on the bench. There we go. So you can see now that's how this works. I'm not going to undo it because I've got that nice and tight in there. That's how it works. Easy to undo, to change the collet if I need to, because these tool holders are about 80 bucks each, and so I only have a few. Every now and then when I see a special offer, there might be 2 for 100 or something like that, then I'd jump on and I keep an eye out, and I might grab a couple more because I could use them, I suppose. That way I could set up all the collets, because I do actually have a full set of ER32 collets, but yeah, you need 24, I think it is, tool holders for 24 collets. A lot of these collets are funny sizes, little oddball things like 7s, 9s, all the odd numbers really. So I might not need those collets for a long time yet. But anyway, that's this project finished, so I'll just say now, if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, hit the bell just to get a notification for the next video, and I'll be back again soon. Thanks a lot guys, take care. Righto guys, well it's been a couple of days back in the workshop. As you can see, I've been to my local bearing and bolt place. 4th bolt is in place. Tool tightening fixture nice and tight in its forever home, I think. It might move, I doubt it very much amount. I can't see any reason that it should do. That's it. The old cutting liquid coolant, whatever you want to call it, lives next door. Now, here's something that make you laugh if nothing else, but it's a little bit of a tool tip for anybody who's got their own workshop. Here in Australia, Eclipse mints come in these nice little metal tins, and as you can hear, this rattles, but it hasn't got mints in it. It actually has button head stainless steel M4 by 6mm screws, little bolts in it, little screws that I need here shortly for when I put the tender back together, once I get through the next couple of jobs, which I'm fettling all the axle boxes and the horn cheeks. So there's 4 of those, 4 sets to go through. I've then got to paint the inside edges and the outside edges. This is just grey primer at the moment. Get all the brake rigging together, which is all inside. Wheels and axles, bearings in, and axle box covers. But the tool tip, ask your friends, family, workmates, do they eat Eclipse mints? I eat them, but I don't eat that many, but they're very useful. Nice little metal tin. Seems a shame to throw them out. In there you can see all the little M4 button heads in the bottom. Now, that's 100, and this can is not even half full. So, nice little storage system. Now again, as I just said, this will probably make you laugh. How many Eclipse tins do I have, do you reckon? I'm not going to count them, no competition. There they go, in stock. Now, also, you can see, nice little white label. This is a little Avery label. You'll have to have a look. I'm not, nobody sponsors me. I just like little Avery stickers. There's no financial benefit in it for me to name them, but they're Avery stickers, so it gives you a pointer to look for. And as you can see, my collection, which has only been going for a few years, is slowly starting to fill up. And you've got small cans for the really small stuff. These are sugar-free. This is only I think it's like a, there we go, 34-gram can, slightly. And I've got, oh, I've actually got big stuff in that one, doesn't matter. And as I say, they've got the can I just used. Let's take out an empty one. There we go. This is the 40-gram can, slightly larger, as you can see. And I'm just lucky. Nice little plastic crate that I found. God knows where, can't tell you. I've had it for years, and the one at the back also. And nice little storage system, nicely labelled, all put together, pretty much in size orders. And as things change, well, I can move them around because it's dead easy. So, there we are. Tool tip and the conclusion of the NT40 tool tightening fixture. Once again, it wasn't an idea of mine. I borrowed it, replaced it, nicked it, whatever you want to call it, from Adam Booth. I'll get his name right one of these days. Adam Booth. ABOM79 is his YouTube channel. It's worth looking at. If you like heavy machining, he's very informative. I've learnt a lot from just watching him. So Adam, if you ever get round to watching this, thank you very much. But this brings this video to a close. So from this Model Engineers Workshop, this is the Chef signing out, and I'll speak to you next time in the next video. All right, guys. Bye-bye.